What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of the MEAC More here on the HBCU Sports YouTube channel and podcast network. I am your host, Chris Stevens. Hopefully you all are doing well out there. And yeah, we have reached the final week of Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference football. We're also going to, say goodbye to our friends at Tennessee State, North Carolina A&T, and Hampton. They'll play their season finales this week as well. But of course, the purpose of this show is to preview the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Championship game. But before we get to that, we must get to our sponsor. This edition of the MEAC More, as always, is sponsored by Rock Solid Contracting and Development, based out of Wilmington, Delaware. Rock Solid Contracting and Development handles all your construction, demolition, and remediation needs. If you need something built, they can build it. If you need something torn down, they can tear it down, and all that other good stuff that has to do with construction and infrastructure and all of that good stuff. And I want to thank Norman Oliver once again, a Delaware State alum and a person who's known me since I was yay high, for sponsoring the MEAC and More. So that is our sponsor for this week. And as always, we will start the program off with our MEAC and More segment, where we talk about the players who are more money for their teammates and more problems for the opponents. And this week we are talking about South Carolina State quarterback Billy Atkins. He completed 24 of 36 for 314 yards, had 3 passing touchdowns, should have had a rushing touchdown. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he won the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week award. And of course, on the other side of the ball is Delaware State's Wayne Favors III, junior defensive back out of Miami, Florida. He had the biggest play in Delaware State's 26-13 win over Howard, 91-yard pick six at the beginning of the third quarter to make the score 23-6, and Howard never fully recovered. And for his efforts, Mr. Favors was named MEAC Defensive Player of the Week. And last but certainly not least, the MEAC Rookie of the Week and our third MEAC and More participant is Raymond Moore III, the redshirt freshman quarterback from Baltimore, Maryland, and Morgan State. He completed 16 of 122. I don't know what the heck happened there. I'm so sorry. That's supposed to be 16 of 22 for 183 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and he had the game-winning rushing touchdown against Norfolk State, which was Morgan State's first MEAC win of the season. And for his efforts, he was named MEAC Rookie of the Week. So, okay, let's get this off the screen. Let's get me back on the screen because, well, it's all about me on this program. Shouts out to Stutter and Noop for checking in. That's a good question. And shouts out to Stephen Campbell. Yeah, you couldn't script this any better. You simply could not script this any better. The last 2 unbeaten teams in the MEAC that haven't played this year will play on Saturday in Dover, Delaware, for the right to call themselves the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference champions. Now, everybody knows me as that guy. Yes, I am a Delaware State alum, a proud one, a very proud one. But I'm also a very nervous Delaware State alum. And I told you guys before that the Central game was a different animal for me because I have a healthy respect for what Trey Oliver and North Carolina Central do. I'm terrified of South Carolina State. They are the big dog. The Bulldogs are the big dogs. They're the gold standard program in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. They have won 19 MEAC championships over the course of 50 years, looking for number 20. And they got away with murder last Friday night. Make no mistake about it. Remember when I said Billy Atkins should have had a rushing touchdown? If you watch that game, he takes an RPO to the right side and he's pointing towards the end zone before he's even 2 yards toward the thing. And the Central player comes up and makes the stop. And then, of course, they get stopped again on 4th down. That could have been disastrous for South Carolina State. I know Chennis Berry read that man the riot act because why are you showboating before you get into the end zone? I know that's probably the last time Billy Atkins will do that ever again in his life. I know he's not going to do it Saturday. And if he gets to play professional football, he probably won't do it again. But overall, there's so much about this game that just, but there is somebody who can speak for me in terms of how I'm feeling about the way Delaware State should, approach this game on Saturday. So let's hear from our special guest this week.
Nobody believes. So listen to everybody. Nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? Don't let no one come into your house, take your meal, do what you need to do today. I'm not nervous. I'm just telling you.
Thank you, Michael Irvin, for that timeless meme. And yes, that is how I'm feeling this week. Nobody believes in Delaware State except for Delaware State themselves. If you look at our comments page, if you look at some other HBCU outlets comments page on Facebook, South Carolina State is loud and proud how they're going to beat us down on Saturday. And they're right to be confident. I mean, look, this is a team that has looked like the Incredible Hulk all year long against opponents in their sphere. I mean, the only questionable game that you can probably hang on South Carolina State is losing to Charleston Southern, because Charleston Southern was ass before. I didn't mean to cuss, but you get the picture. Charleston Southern was not a good football team going into that game against South Carolina State, and somehow Charleston Southern won that game. That's the only game you could probably look at and say, wow, South Carolina State looked kind of. But the rest, I mean, you can't count South Carolina because, I mean, hello, they're FBS. You can't count South Florida because, hello, they're FBS. But everywhere else this year, South Carolina State has looked like the real deal. And that terrifies me because the way Delaware State played last week against Howard, I watched that game. I didn't go. I'm going this week, obviously. I'm going to go and cover it. But what bothered me about the way Delaware State played last week was they let Howard get up here. 18 penalties for 195 yards. That has to be a record for Delaware State football. I mean, there were personal fouls, lining up off sides, illegal substitutions, ineligible men downfield. Like, it was a dumpster fire. The only thing that saved Delaware State last week was that Howard was just that much worse. And I will say this, and I'm not going to put this on Larry Scott because, again, I have a healthy amount of respect for Larry Scott. I think he's a good coach. I think he's, done great things at Howard. But, and I mean, kids go rogue. I mean, these kids today, these athletes, they go rogue quite a bit. So I'm not going to pin this on Larry Scott. But I'm going to say there was a lot of unnecessary extracurricular activity coming from Howard last weekend. And Delaware State took the bait a lot of the times. You can't do that. You got to let them, get their anger out, however they're going to get their anger out. I'll never forget, after one penalty, the referee forgot to turn his mic off. And the Delaware State linemen were talking to each other, say, let them go. They ain't got nothing going on. They ain't playing for nothing next week. I was like, finally, somebody gets it. You guys have a championship opportunity. Don't get yourselves kicked out, because whatever the Howard players are doing. Because I saw at least two players punching at Marquise Gillis while he was on the ground. And when you're on the ground in college football, the play is dead. We all know this. So Marquise Gillis is literally on his back with the football, and his two Howard players just, And I heard, and I heard Emory Hunt on the call, and Emory Hunt's one of the best in the business. And I'm like, dude, you're not seeing the same thing I'm seeing. He said, the Howard players were just punching at the ball, but the play is dead. Why are you punching at the ball if the play is dead? Help me understand. Help me help you. Oh my God. But yeah, Delaware State, they cannot do what Coach Jack terms as bonehead plays this weekend. They can't get away with that because South Carolina State will run them off the turf of Alumni Stadium if you start doing dumb stuff. So this game, it terrifies me. And people are already saying, well, Delaware State's had a great season. They've won 8 games. Let's not get it twisted. Delaware State last won 8 games in 2007. Can you remember what you were doing in 2007? I barely can. But it's been a long time. It has been a very long time since Delaware State has had a decent football team. And remember, each of the last 2 years prior to this, they've won 1 game. They won 1 game in 2023, 1 game in 2024. So Coach Jack has quadrupled the amount of wins over the last 2 seasons in just 1 season. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And there's going to be nothing to be ashamed of if Delaware State falls short on Saturday, but I know that's not what Deshaun Jackson wants. I know it's not what Clinton Portis wants. I know it's not what Eugene Chung, Nemo Washington, Sammy Parker, and all those guys on that coaching staff want. They want to win. And they're probably drilling into the heads of these guys that this is a game that you cannot dilly-dally. This is a game you cannot lollygag. This is a game that you cannot fool around with. This is the big dog. This is the one. You win this game, you get a flight in 2 weeks, and not 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks. You win this game, you get a flight in 2 weeks to Atlanta, Georgia, to play the SWAC champion. You lose, and you sitting at home wondering what the heck happened. So it's a lot. There's a lot riding on this for Delaware State. And I want to get to this point that Stutter and Noop so graciously puts on the screen. I'm talking to Delaware State alumni, and I'm one of them. So this is from a place of love. Get y'all asses in the stadium by kickoff. Stop hanging around the tailgate, just as the Star Spangled Banner and Lift Every Voice and Sing is playing. Get y'all asses in the stadium. Seriously. Because if you watch that game last week against Howard, you can go back and look at it on ESPN Plus if you have it. That game did not fill out until the second or third quarter. And I'm like, why are y'all just hanging around in the parking lot when there's a football game inside the stadium? Get in the stadium. Get in your seat. Get rowdy. Get loud. Because how many times in the last 20 years have you had a chance to win the MEAC championship on your home field against the defending champion, against the Mike Tyson, the Mike Tyson that used to knock people out in 15 seconds of the MEAC? Get in the stadium by kickoff. Don't be. I mean, I get it. If you want to tailgate, cool. If you want to congregate, fine. But get there early. Get there because the game starts at 1:00. So what can you do? You get up at 6. Most of y'all are only an hour away. Some of y'all there might be more than an hour away. You might want to get up at 5. I don't know. But get up early. Get to the stadium. Set up your tailgate. Cook your food. Do all of that. Get some food in your system. And then by 1:00, have your butts in your seats for kickoff. Because that crowd matters. And South Carolina State travels. They absolutely travel. So don't have South Carolina State out shouting y'all on Saturday. It's that simple. Get y'all asses in the seats. And yes, that concludes the public service announcement for the Delaware State Hornets fan base and alumni group. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get that out there. I know Ken's probably gonna be mad at me using the A word, but I had to make my point. Our capacity of Stuttering Noop is allegedly 7,500. Now, mind you, I grew up a young kid going to Delaware State college games back when Bill Collick was the coach. I was a student reporter. During the early 2000s. I've been in Alumni Stadium probably more than I've been in my own house in my life. And it don't seat no 7,500. It does not. Maybe 5 or 6 tops. But I'm not saying the capacity that DSU publicizes is 7,500. I don't think I've ever seen 7,500 people in the Delaware State football game. But if there is the case, this weekend is the case, I better see 7,500 in there. The students, man, you know what's funny about that, Steven? Back when I was, going to Delaware State, we had a group called the DSU Diehards. And they showed up and showed out, not just for football and basketball. They would go to volleyball games. They would go to softball games. They would go to baseball games. They would get turned. I don't think there's a DSU Diehards. There's not a DSU Student Booster Club on campus these days. I think that's something that Coach Jack, I think that's something with AD Tony Tucker is going to probably have to get with the SGA and the student activities directors about. Like, y'all got to get these students out of their beds on a Saturday into the football stadium and have them be ready. Like, make it, so make it palatable for them. Not granted, a winning football team should be palatable enough, but you got to make it so these kids come to the game, show up, support, be loud, have a good time. I don't know what if I could do it, I would help, but that's above my pay grade. I'm just a mere sports writer. I mean, I've been to some games where people have literally just, bounced up and down off the walls and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I do not know. Stephen Campbell is right. A packed barn of 6,000 loud can make a difference. Yeah. I think so. And we've always had, back in my day, we had a unbelievable home field and home court advantage. We used to, I'll never forget the diehards used to have football and basketball players crying from opposing schools because our student section got on their nerves so doggone bad. I've seen coaches, literally turn their attention to the diehards and act like they were going to square up. So you have got to find a way to get the entire community involved, the alumni, the students, the people in Dover. I have my opinions about, the majority of the people in that city. Black folks in Dover always want to show out, but Dover is still a predominantly white town for the most part. And those folks hate DSU. They hate it, and they hate DSU even more since they purchased the Wesley College campus and turned it into a DSU shuttle campus. Like those white folks in Dover hate Delaware State because they cannot imagine that Tony Allen has built this school up to be one of the top HBCUs in the country and one of the top, schools in the region, period. So black folk in Delaware, black folk in Dover, they was going to show up anyway. But I really want us to concentrate on the alumni. I want us to concentrate on the student fan base. Get those folks all in there. Get them all in there. Get as many of them in there as you can. Don't have South Carolina State feeling like they got home field advantage 1,000 miles away. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Michael Smith says, I hope DSU wins. I want to see them in JSU against ATL against Jackson State. I don't know if I want to see them against Jackson State, to be completely honest with you, man. People get so mad at me when I say, when I do these HBCU sports Division I rankings. Everybody's like, well, why is the MEAC below the SWAC? Because the SWAC plays better football. They do. Jackson State would be an FCS playoff team if they wanted to go. Same for Alabama State. Prairie View too. Us, the MEAC, do we have an FCS playoff team in the top three? I don't think so, because you got to remember. So Central has lost to 2 MEAC opponents. Ain't no way they're getting in with 2 MEAC losses. South Carolina State would be, but that game against Charleston Southern is probably what would knock them out, because you had no business losing to Charleston Southern. So Delaware State, we didn't have a strong schedule. We played 2 Division II teams. Well, technically 1, but St. Francis, they're detransitioning down to Division III. They did not look like an FCS football team when we went up there earlier this year, because they never had a chance. And St. Francis usually gives us fits. But we went up there this weekend, earlier this year, and just beat them down within an inch of their life. So that, I don't even know if you count that St. Francis win as a Division I win. We beat Bowie State. Our losses aren't that bad. Delaware, UD might be a bowl team, an FBS bowl team in their first year. Who knew? Monmouth is probably going to make the FCS playoffs. Sacred Heart has a strong case for the FCS playoffs. So maybe we get in. I don't know, but I don't think we have a playoff team in the midst in the MEAC. The SWAC has 3. So I do believe the SWAC plays stronger football. That is just my personal opinion. That's just my personal opinion. So I think that game is going to be on Plus. I wish it was on ESPN yet. And I wish we had Jay Walker and Tiffany Green coming up to vibe with us in Dover, but this is still new. This is still very, very new. This whole Delaware State as a national topic of conversation thing. This didn't happen when Bill Collett was coaching. And Bill Collett coached that team to five MEAC championship teams. He had guys like John Taylor, Gene Lake, Rod Milstead, who was coaching DSU beforehand. So this is the first time DSU has been a national topic of conversation from a football perspective, probably ever. So ESPN and other other places are still slow to catch on. So I think the only time we'll probably get any really true national exposure is if we make it to the Celebration Bowl. So it's going to take some time. It is going to take some time. The MEAC needs HBCU go in a desperate way, but for some strange reason, they feel, loyal to this ESPN contract, which is kind of, that's my personal opinion. But yeah, HBCU go. The MEAC needs to find a way to get involved with the HBCU go. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you buy out whatever your option is with ESPN. You need HBCU go. You absolutely need HBCU go. And again, I credit Charles McClellan for being flexible about this. Like, he never said that we're done with ESPN. We're just going to pursue other options while we do it. Hence the birth of SWAC TV. Hence them having a partnership with HBCU Go. So you absolutely need HBCU Go if the MEAC is going to survive. I mean, yeah, ESPN pays you guys $2 million for the Celebration Bowl. Cool. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's the least they could do. Probably should be more than $2 million, but I digress. But yeah, you got to find a way to work. The MEAC has to find a way to involve HBCU Go in their broadcasting contracts and ventures, because we've seen this too many times. I mean, for crying out loud, they moved South Carolina State, North Carolina Central to rush hour on a Friday in Durham, North Carolina. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about the Triangle. And I've been to the Triangle a time or two in my day. It's not the most easiest place to get around. And you put that game at 5:30 on a Friday in the middle of November. So everybody's trying to get home. I mean, North Carolina don't get as cold as Delaware, but I'm sure it still ain't as hot. People trying to get home. So you put that game at 5:30. I mean, credit to the people that did show up, because O'Kelly Riddick, tongue twister, was filled. I mean, those people showed up and showed out. And this is the point, that DSU, our alumni base, our student section, there's no excuses. If people from Durham, North Carolina, Orangeburg, South Carolina can converge during rush hour on a Friday and fill a stadium up for one of the biggest games of the year, there's no reason Alumni Stadium shouldn't be packed at 1 p.m. tomorrow on a Saturday. No reason. None. So hopefully, my plea doesn't fall on deaf ears. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'll see when I drive down there on Saturday. I'm going to be really annoyed if I get down there and I'm walking to the stadium and people are still hanging out in the park. Well, I get there early anyway. I'm one of those sports writers that has to literally get there 3 hours before game time, so I could just take in the sights, take in the scenes, and all of that good stuff. I literally would just sit and watch players work out in their, uniform pants and, whatever t-shirts they have on, whatever ripped t-shirts. I refuse to call it what, the term used to be called WBs. I'm not calling them WBs. I don't like that term. Whatever the sleeveless t-shirts with the sleeves ripped out. Y'all know what the name is. I ain't calling them that, but you know what I mean. Like those little, those ripped t-shirts, you guys, talking up, vibing, getting ready for the game, just looking around the stadium, with the quiet before the storm. So I'm there usually 3 hours in advance anyway. But hopefully people will join me in the seats, in time. Well, I'll be in the press box, obviously. But hopefully people are in the seats by the time kickoff starts. Lionel Williams about Charles McClellan. He sees the writing on the wall as a visionary. At some point, ESPN is going to send us the way of the dodo bird. ESPN might be already going that way itself, to be quite honest with you, because I was talking with the guy with my coworkers in the group chat, Kendrick Marshall and Jared Hoffman, we were talking about the MEAC presser, and I'm not going to go into any further details about why we were talking about the MEAC presser, but Kendrick had a suggestion about questions, like you got 15 seconds to get a question off, or you get muted, like on Around the Horn. And I said, I miss Around the Horn because it made sports fans smarter. Like Around the Horn was probably the last good show, original show that ESPN had, because you had to show your work. You had to cite stats. You had to cite that you actually watch the games. You have to cite that you are a reporter that actually goes out and does the work. And Around the Horn was brilliant for that. I mean, you think about, people like Justin Tinsley, a Hampton grad. People like Marcel Louis Jacques, Harry Lyles Jr., Courtney Cronin, Emily Kaplan, folks in that, Sarah Spain, younger folks who actually still believe in the tenets of journalism. Those were some great voices that ESPN had. And they gave them all away because now Pat McAfee is taking his shirt off every Saturday like Bobby Brown in 1989, and nobody asked for that. Nobody wants to see a shirtless, naked, uncooked chicken on their TV screen every Saturday morning. It's pointless. It's stupid. It's not theater. It's not funny. It makes me turn the television off. And Stephen A. Smith, oh my God, don't get me started. That dude gave me some of the best advice of my career as a young journalist, young aspiring journalist. And now I don't even want to claim him as giving me that advice. Because this dude literally got on his podcast and defended the pedo gang, the sex traffickers. Hello? And this is ESPN's fault for giving those guys that platform. So yeah, Around the Horn, that's a show I miss so much. And yeah. And Michael Smith says TV is not always good for school financially. No, it's not. It's not. So that's why, Charles McClellan, deserves a ton of credit for having the foresight to say, all right, we need our own thing. We can still ride with ESPN, but we need our own thing regardless. And that's what SWAC TV has been able to do. SWAC TV has actually gotten a lot better for every sport as the season has progressed. I can't wait to watch SWAC basketball on SWAC TV. Like, they have done a great job in developing that platform and bringing it along slowly but surely. So why don't we have a MEAC TV? Again, I'm not one of those people that is ready to throw Sonya Stills under the bus, because look what she inherited. I mean, for crying out loud, dog. Dennis Thomas, the dude that came up with Miyake, didn't exactly leave a full cupboard when he walked away as MEAC commissioner. So Sonya Stills is trying to clean up that man's mess. And he left a lot of mess to clean, respectfully. So hopefully, the wheels are turning for how to make the MEAC solvent and keep the MEAC alive. But Edwin, if you missed it, Stephen A. was saying that the Epstein files is a distraction. And we all know what's in the Epstein files for the most part. Even though the powers that be agreed to release the files, we all know them things are going to have a lot of black lines in them. Just a whole lot of Sharpie. So it's pointless now. And you probably were never going to get the desired reaction if you are, trying to get people to understand that you turn the country over to one of the worst human beings on the planet. I don't think you're gonna, get that reaction, because people have drunk the Kool-Aid so much that they're not gonna, do that. I digress. Mr. Jackson says, no, Sonya been there too long not to catch some smoke. I disagree because I mean, it's not easy being a conference commissioner. I don't care if you in a D3, an NAIA, a NCAA, an NCJ, an NJCAA, ABCDEFG, HIJK, I don't care. Being a conference commissioner ain't easy, regardless. So I mean, and again, Dennis Thomas. Again, if Dennis Thomas did not have the brains, did not have the thought to say, let's make a celebration bowl, his legacy would look a lot different. A lot different. And not in a favorable way. So Sonya Stills has to clean up this man's mess. I don't know. I mean, and I hope and I'm sure she's on the way with it. On the way with cleaning it up. But she needs some time. I still think she needs some time. I want to say this is her 4th year. So that's a lot to ask of a lady who just got on board. I mean, she's been working in the MEAC office for years, but she just got elevated to commissioner. But she's got to fight through a lot of stuff because, again, we don't know if this conference is going to be alive in the next 5 or 10 years. We do not. People have been saying, oh, no, Howard won't leave. Delaware State won't leave. North Carolina Central won't leave. South Carolina State won't leave. We don't know that. And there are a lot of people with a lot of inside information who know the contrary. So we don't even know if the MEAC is going to be a thing by 2030. We don't. So this woman is trying to really put this, trying to duct tape and rubber band and glue this boat together to keep it from sinking. And to quote somebody who just passed away recently, the late, great Michael Ray Richardson, the ship be sinking. The ship absolutely be sinking when we're talking about the MEAC. Yeah. Can we get a super chat, guys? So yeah, we are still raising money. We're doing better. We still need some money. So if you want to drop a super chat, whether it's $1, $2, $5, or if you're balling like Mackenzie Scott, you can drop 50 million. It doesn't matter. Just drop a super chat. Yeah, Dennis Thomas was there a long time. Dennis Thomas was in that office before I became a student or when I became a student. So Dennis Thomas was there a long time, bro. Very long time. And his legacy is the Celebration Bowl, but also his legacy is Miyake. Take that for what it's worth. You got this one brilliant idea on one hand, and then you got this albatross of what the hell on the other. So Sonya Stills has some work to do to clean this mess up. And she deserves enough time to get it done. She hasn't said publicly what it is, but I believe she does. Chris Tucker, I like this idea. A 4-pack TV swag mix. I think that's probably going to come around to bend sooner rather than later, because I know HBCU Go has done a lot with the other conferences, and same for HBCU Plus. So here's what I would like. This is Chris Stevens. This is Chris Stevens' unofficial way to have Black college athletics come up with their own broadcasting idea. You integrate SWAC TV. For some, I don't know if Hardy Pelt and Byron Allen are chummy, but I say they merge. You combine HBCU Go and HBCU Plus, and make it HBCU Plus Go. Use all your resources. You integrate SWAC TV. You make it palatable for the MEAC to be able to start their own thing. Matter of fact, you give them the framework, you give them the technology, you give them the resources to start a MEAC TV. And of course, the SIAC and the CIAA already have their own networks. So all you have to do is just pull all your resources together and create an HBCU sports network. I know, Steven. I know. I'm a dreamer. I'm an optimist beyond realism. So, but that's what I would do if I had the ear of Charles McClellan, Sonya Stills, Anthony Holloman, and Jackie McWilliams Parker. If I had their ear, that would be my suggestion. Put all your stuff together and find a way to do it like Tom Joyner did with Reach Media. It's the HBCU Sports Morning Show. But yeah, that would be my That would be my penultimate suggestion, is that everybody just pool their resources somehow. But yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, overall, so yeah, let's get back to this game. You guys are probably wondering what my prediction is. Y'all see the shirt I'm wearing. And Jared Hoffman made a great point when we did the South Carolina State, North Carolina Central live stream last Friday. He said every time you pick against Delaware State, they win. Well, I mean, I can't pick against my alma mater while people, who know me are watching. And I just feel like, for some strange reason, this is a star-crossed year. I feel like this is this is just something that is beyond explanation. And I'm going to go ahead and ride with my Hornets. I got Delaware State 28-24 over South Carolina State to win their first MEAC championship since 2007 and take their first trip to the Celebration Bowl. Yes, I'm going with the Hornets. I will put this in writing for my weekly HBCU picks on Friday. But yes, I am picking Delaware State to win. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm not doing the Joe Namath thing. I'm not doing the Charles Barkley thing. I'm just saying that that's going to be my prediction. So, yeah. Donna Roseboro says you're implying we work together. I am. Because we got to do something. Because we finna be left behind with all these power fours, hoarding all the resources, all the money, all the TV, and all of that stuff. So yeah, we got to work together. Sink or swim. And, we can't end up like, what Michael Ray said about the 82 Knicks. The ship be sinking. The funny part about that comment is, the reporter asked a follow-up question of Michael Ray when he had said the ship be sinking. He's like, well, how far can it sink? And Michael Ray, God rest his soul, God bless him, said, sky's the limit. So he was fed up with whatever the Knicks had going on in 1982. If you're an old school basketball fan, or you want to be an old school basketball fan, I highly recommend you check out some Michael Ray Richardson highlights. When you think of big guards, it's him and Magic at the top of the list, is like the pioneers. So, him, Magic, and Oscar Robertson. Michael Ray Richardson was a hooper. The only thing that got in his way was, but if you take that away, he probably has a Hall of Fame career. And it was so good to see him clean himself up, get himself together, and sort of be able to tell his life story before he passed away. So yeah, but that's one of my favorite quotes of all time. The ship be sinking. I quote that about something at least once a week, because you can just look around this country and see that the ship be sinking. But yeah, and Mr. Jackson said it best. Too many. Well, we got to be careful with that. We got to be politically correct. So I'll just say too many cooks in the kitchen to summarize it. I'm going to have to check with my coworkers, because, we all moving around doing a lot of different stuff these days. So yeah, hopefully we do have a Friday show, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about outside of this space. Matter of fact, that reminds me. Oh, thanks, Lawrence. We greatly appreciate you. We got one super chat. If you guys want to drop another super chat, maybe. If Delaware State wins Saturday, do you think fans will rush the field? Yes, absolutely. Because our alumni, our student body, by and large, has not changed in 40 years. We attract the most unhinged of Philadelphia, New Jersey, Baltimore, the DMV, Delaware proper. We got crazies on campus. Because I'll never forget the first home game back from winter break 2005 for basketball. Delaware State was playing Hampton. And shout out to my guy Josh Blunt, one of the great Del State hoopers. He had a jumper with 1/10 of a second left, and Hampton was out of timeouts. Before Hampton could even throw in the ball, DSU students were rushing the floor, and the MEAC referees, they would have been legitimately in their rights to call a tech and give Hampton some free throws to tie the game, but I think those referees just wanted to get the hell out of there, so they bounced. I know Bobby Collins at the time wasn't too happy about that, and I understand it. But so yeah, I absolutely do think. Shout out to Mr. Jackson, appreciate you, sir. So yeah, we got 2 super chats now. So yeah, I do think Delaware State fans will rush the field if they win on Saturday. And that means I need to think about where the heck I'm going to run to be safe. Because we don't have an in-stadium media facility. The media facility for us is in Memorial Hall, which is across the street from Alumni Stadium, if you've never been on Delaware State's campus. So I know I'm probably, if the game is close, I'm probably going to walk down to the field and try to, get some cell phone footage. And I got to be ready to run. I know I got to be ready to run. Because even though I'm a pretty stout dude, I'm older. I'm 44. It ain't gonna be as easy to get away from a bunch of hyped up teenagers as it would have been when I was one of those hyped up teenagers some 25 years ago. Like back then, I would have been able to make a break for it. Now I got to start figuring out a way to inch my way towards the gate, as the time is running down. So if those kids run the field, I'm out of there. So I got to find a way to get out of Dodge if Del State wins on Saturday and the kids rush the field, and they will rush the field, absolutely, because I don't think DSU student police or the police officers on campus are going to make much of an effort to stop them. And I don't think they should. I mean, granted, you want everybody to be safe. You want everybody to be safe. You want people to get off of that field without injuries. You don't want to have a loss of life. None of that stuff. But I think the fun part is that you experience these things as a college student. Like you have to feel what it's like to be feel what it's like to be in the middle of something that impressive, that massive, this big of a turnaround. Well, Edwin, our kids have rushed the court before for sure, at different HBCUs, absolutely. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But for me, I'm just gonna try to find a way to get the hell out of Dodge, because I'm old. I got bad ankles. I got bad knees. I can't risk getting messed up. I mean, I'm at the stage in my life now where I have to stretch when I wake up in the morning and stretch before I go to bed at night. As my grandmother used to say, keep on living, because I never thought that this would be my reality. I mean, I used to make fun of my grandma all the time, because me and my grandmother had a really close relationship. She died July 4, 2006. I still miss her to this day, and we used to joke on each other all the time. And she would say, and I would say, all right, Grandma, it's been 15 minutes. she would move to the kitchen to cook. And she's like, you better hope it's 5 minutes for you when you get older. And I was like, okay. Now it's like, I get what she was saying. Old age, if we're lucky, we all get there. And we all gonna be slower. So yeah, that's basically my strategy if DSU students rush the field on Saturday. I'm just going to find the closest gate and get the hell behind it. It's that simple. I ain't playing. Like, I can't do what Reggie Jackson did. If you guys are old enough to remember the way Reggie Jackson ran off the field after Game 6 of the '77 World Series, I can't do that, because I don't want any lawsuits on my hands. I don't want Ken Rashad getting sued because I was just bam, bam, bam. You guys have to go watch that footage of Reggie Jackson run off the field after the 1977 World Series. He was channeling his running back days from when he was a running back at Arizona State. He was just bowling over everybody. I remember this one dude who tried to shake his hand. Reggie just bumped him with his shoulder. He flew like 15 feet in the other direction. So, Reggie Jackson not only could hit baseballs, he could hit people. So, yeah, just be mindful of that, y'all. Yeah. Dover weather said it's going to rain before kickoff. Is going to be cold. Yeah, this is the part of the Mid-Atlantic experience that hurts Delaware State and Morgan State and Howard in terms of football. Black folk don't do cold. Black folk don't do wet. Combine them both, and you're gonna have an attendance problem. Like for me, I have no excuse. I'm going to drive down there. I'm going to put on, my best. I'm going to put on my best zip-up jacket and a Scully. And I may bring hand warmers. I haven't decided yet. I may bring hand warmers. So, but yeah, it's gonna be fun on Saturday, regardless of outcome. If Delaware State, well, as a reporter, I have to be impartial, so I can't be cheering in the press box. But whatever the result, this has been the best season that this has been the best first season that the Delaware State brain trust could ask for from Deshaun Jackson to Delaware State football. Because remember, I said at the beginning of the year, this team won 5 games. It would be a win. They've won 8. 8. A Delaware State football team has not won 8 games in 18 years. 18. There are current Delaware State students who were not even born the last time this team had a winning record, won a MEAC championship. So this is huge. This is huge, win or lose. But they've got to show up. The football team absolutely has to be ready for everything that South Carolina State is going to throw at them. Because South Carolina State is going to throw a lot at them. When you look at Billy Atkins, a kid who transferred from James Madison, he has looked really good, except for that one play last week that I was talking about. Like, why in the hell are you showboating before you get into the end zone? Wait till you get there. But yeah, I don't think he'll do that this week. They have an amazing defense led by Josh Barker up front. They have great running backs like Tyler Smith, KZ Adams, Josh Shaw, who scored the game winner last week. South Carolina State ain't no joke. And I got a chance to ask Chennis Berry a question in the MEAC press conference this week. Do you know that Chennis Berry has not lost a conference game of any kind in 4 years? 4. The last time he lost a conference game of any kind was when he was at Benedict in 2021. And he lost to Morehouse of all teams, which I found to be interesting. But yeah, he went undefeated his last 2 years at Benedict, including the SIAC championship game. He's been undefeated so far in his run in the MEAC with South Carolina State. Chennis Berry just knows how to win football games. And everybody in the press conference was laughing at me because I said, I know the Colonel has 11 herbs and spices. I said, does Chennis Berry have 11 herbs and spices? And coach is like, there's no secret sauce. I just have great coaches, great coordinators. I have people who believe in me and all of that good stuff. And I believe in my players. That was a simple answer. So it may not be 11 herbs and spices, but it's a pretty damn good recipe. So South Carolina State is going to come in there with a trip to Atlanta on their minds. Otherwise, they wouldn't really be there. So Delaware State has to be ready. Everybody has to be ready. The team, the alumni, the students, we all got to be ready. We all got to be ready. I can't be ready. I'm a reporter. I'm going to put on my reporter hat. I need one of them hats like my guy Chris Murray wears. Shout out to Chris Murray of the of WRD radio in Philly. He wears the old school reporter hats. I gotta get me a Chris Murray reporter hat. But yeah, I'm gonna put on my reporter hat. I'm going to be impartial. I'm going to be unbiased. I'm going to call the game. I'm going to cover the game as I see it. So yeah. But if Delaware State wins and I get back home to this apartment, I'm going to have a party. So, but time will tell. The John McKenzie days, Edwin, are not looked at fondly. I'll never forget Dennis Jones, the legendary sports information director, who is one of my mentors, not just in the sports realm, but as a human being. Like he's the most upstanding man, husband, father, grandfather you can imagine. If you've never met Dennis Jones, I feel sorry for you. And Dennis Jones used to tell me some really good stories sitting in his office when I was a student reporter. He said one time during the McKenzie era, the DSU football team went up to Hofstra and got absolutely smacked. And he said, he said McKenzie was mad that Hofstra took their foot off the gas because I think the score was 68-0, something like that. And Dennis was like, he said, I was looking around at John like, are you crazy? They'll call you back off the bus and give you some more. Let's just get on the bus and go home. So, the McKenzie era is not a fondly remembered era. I think you'll probably end up putting the John McKenzie era alongside the Kenny Carter era of the Lee Hall era, as eras of Delaware State football that people just choose to sweep under the rug, as it were. But yeah. So yeah, Saturday's going to be good. The rest of the MEAC schedule, everybody's just playing to figure out, what their team is going to look like next year. I think that Morgan State North Carolina Central game is going to be closer than people think. because, again, Morgan State has found something with Raymond Moore III. Trey Oliver was very complimentary of him in the press conference this week. He said he looked like young Randall Cunningham. And it's true. Tall, lanky, can move, can throw the football. It checks out. As far as the Howard-Norfolk State game, which is being played at Audi Field, and Larry Scott brought this up. And I like that Larry Scott answered this question, honestly, that Howard having two home football games, really messed them up this year. They only had 2 games at Green Stadium this year, y'all. Their other 2 games in D.C. were at Audi Field. If I'm Larry Scott, and I'm talking to my AD, I said, we got to find a way to make more money on these home games, because having my guys play in Philadelphia, in Miami, in Jersey, it doesn't help. It doesn't help us. So I think if I'm Larry Scott, me and my AD are going to have that conversation as soon as we clear out them lockers on Monday. Let's talk about how to get more home games on campus and make money off of those games. So Dave says Howard got to have more home games than what they were charging. Their first home game was homecoming. Yeah. That is tough. That is tough for your first home game to be homecoming. You have got to find a way to get yourself a non-conference game on your campus. Because we all know the MEAC schedule is going to be what it's going to be. The MEAC schedule is going to be the last 5 games of the season until we get some more teams in here. Somehow. We never won the MEAC under John McKenzie. Never. The MEAC, the times Delaware State won the MEAC were under Bill Colick. 85, 87, 88, 89, 91. The 2007 championship belongs to the late great Al Levan. So yeah, we never won a MEAC championship under McKenzie. So yeah. Adam Spencer, shouts out to the Pirate checking in, says move Howard and Hampton back to the campuses. That could work. Because these are 2 schools who have major DMV alumni bases. I think that's probably why they played at Audi Field, because you figure you're going to get, 65, 75% capacity regardless of how good the teams are, just because Howard and Hampton, they like to have a bougie off. They like to have a bougie off. So you're going to get crowds for either one of them. You're going to get crowds for that game regardless. But yeah, I do think that at some point, Howard has to find a way to get more games at Green Stadium, because that really handicapped them this year. Ooh. Dave says, we've been trying to schedule Howard A&T and they've declined. Interesting. I wonder why. Maybe we'll find out about that at a later date. Speaking of A&T, I want to send my well wishes to a man I actually saw speak in person when I was 6 years old, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's in the hospital in Chicago right now. We want to send Reverend Jackson our well wishes, one of the more famous Black Americans and civil rights leaders of all time. We got, I think we really need to come to grips with the fact that people we grew up admiring are really just, getting older, and not just famous people. People in our communities and such. So we really need to, lean on not lean on our elders, but give our elders someone to lean on, because nobody stays here forever. One of my favorite Richard Pryor quotes is, the ultimate test is whether you can survive death, and nobody we know so far have passed the ultimate test. So, as we get older and as our elders get older, we got to show them the love before they transition. Yeah. I'll get well soon with Reverend Jackson. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week. I've said all I'm going to say. I'll probably have more to say if we do a show on Friday. But tomorrow, you want to tune in at 2:00 on this very same channel, because Jared Hoffman is going to have the Better Than Less Than podcast. And what is that? He's going to break down the entire Division II HBCU playoff space, because we got 5 teams in this year. That's a record. And we got to big up our CIAA and SIAC compadres, because they've been competitive from the word go. Albany State has a bye. I think Benedict has a home game this weekend. I know for sure Virginia Union and Johnson C. Smith have home games. And Kentucky State's in there. They go to Newberry. So we're going to have so much to be excited about in this weekend in Black college football. So guys, support your teams, support other teams, and stay tuned to this very outlet. We do good work. Subscribe to this channel, become a level 1 or level 2 member. For $4.99 a month, you can get all the Black college news that's fit to print and broadcast. If you want to donate outside of Super Chat, we do have Cash App. You can see it scrolling across your screen. Just type in the $ in the Cash App, type in HBCU Sports, give us your money there. If you want to do the Zelle app, go to Zelle, type in donate at hbcusports.com and drop your coins there. Or if you want to go directly to the website, it's hbcusports.com/donate. Don't forget to follow us on all manners of social media. We are on the Musty app. That's Twitter, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Just search for HBCU Sports. And I'm going to promote my stuff before I get up out of here. I got a music podcast. I think you guys will like it. Michael Irvin is not on my music podcast, but this is my music podcast, On the Groove Line. I'll talk about all things old school hip-hop, R&B, funk, jazz, disco, dance music. You name it, I got it covered. You can go to that lovely link right there and be sure to subscribe to the channel. I've got a couple of guests coming up, that I think old school music fans are going to remember and love. So that's my music podcast. And I have an after hours dating podcast called The Overnight Scenario. That is where I talk about all things dating, romance, again, after hours stuff. To this, you'll have to sign up for my Patreon. It is $1 a month to be a member of my Patreon. Not only do I have a podcast over there, I share my creative writing. I'm working on a Christmas romance novel. I'm probably going to announce that in the next couple of weeks. Very excited to share that with you all. If you guys like reading books, I'll be able to share that with you guys in the coming days. So, yeah. So that pretty much covers it. That's going to do it for this edition of the MEAC and More. Don't forget, tomorrow, the Better Than Less Than podcast with Jared Hoffman, previewing the Division II playoffs. And Friday, we're either going to do a swag page or HBCU Sports Live. We'll let you guys know for sure how that's going to go down. But thank y'all for watching and listening to the MEAC and More with me. My throat is scratchy. I have not eaten yet. I need to get some food in my stomach. So I'm going to go do that. So you guys enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy the football. And until the next time we speak, y'all take care of yourselves and each other. We gone.